So I'm going. So I'm going to give a test here, which you should hear in about 60 seconds.
Testing.
Testing live for YouTube.
Test.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I just rushed to call to order this regular meeting of Council on December the 14th at 3:30 p.m. Council would like to acknowledge Ucluelet thought on whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. Notice of video recording. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Does everybody have the one late item? Okay. Looking for approval of the agenda with the one late item.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Looking for the adoption of the November 9th regular minutes.
Move adoption. Second.
Any errors or omissions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the adoption of the November 23rd regular minutes.
I'll move. Second.
Any errors or omissions? Holy moly, you two. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Any unfinished business? Seeing none. Mayor's announcements. I just want to a big shout out for everyone who participated in the Sail Pass last week. It was a wonderful thing in the community. Hopefully some of us went down to check it out. Couldn't beat the weather. We're going to pay for it the next 2 or 3 years now. So, and the last one, it's the last day for Joseph Roenberg, our corporate officer. We just want to say thank you. And I know you're on a 6-month leave. You got twins coming, so just enjoy the quiet and silence that you've been experiencing at night, because it's almost over, and yeah, you'll be dearly missed, and don't be a stranger. Thanks, Joseph. All the best to you during the holidays. Public input. An opportunity for the public that may have any questions with what's going on. You'll get to use the delegation a little later on. You want to just check the emails for me?
There are no emails at this time.
Okay. Nobody on Zoom, so we're good to continue on.
There is nobody on Zoom.
Okay. Delegations. Starting off with welcome Jan Dresky from the Crow's Nest. Just come up to the podium if you don't mind. Yeah, if you think it's beneficial. So just keep in mind the presentation is 10 minutes, what we ask, and the members of council may ask questions at the end of each presentation, although council will not be making any decisions at this time. All righty.
Is that good? There we are. Is that better? Okay. All right. Thank you for the opportunity to address Mayor and Council on the proposed village green revitalization. I would prefer to call it the historic government downtown devitalization. You're going to notice in the packet I gave you, I have 3 letters of endorsements, excuse the spelling mistake at the top, from 3 businesses, people who would have liked to have been here, but who are unable to attend. Ian Riddick from Heartwood and Shipwreck Pizza, Bonnie Gurney from Pioneer Boatwork, and Heather Botterill from Foggy Bean. So they have given me their letters of endorsement that you can probably read it for yourself, to state that I agree with Jan's concerns about the removal of 20-plus parking spaces in the downtown core as illustrated on the Village Green drawings. So thank you for the opportunity to address Council and Mayor. I can't think of a retail shop in Ucluelet that does not have parking available in front of the business. A retail business is dependent on accessible parking to interact with their customers in the community. I thought businesses were not allowed to exist without parking. Retail stores exist where they are because of accessibility. A retail store would not choose a location without these public interactions. Without parking, without accessibility, we have all heard the expression, location, location, location. For almost 120 years, the old general store has been the original location. You can carry the most interesting or alluring inventory, but if customers cannot easily access it, they won't see it and they won't buy it. Let's go over the map and count all the parking slots that this proposal would like to remove. I've given you each a copy of the map with the little red numbers all over them. So we start in front of the Crow's Nest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My employee parking, 6, 7. Across the street, 8, 9. Up the road at the crosswalk, 10, 11, 12. The other side of the crosswalk, 13, 14. Down below the municipal office, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Across the street, 23, 24, 25. These 25 parking places are for the municipal walkway, down Main Street and around the corner on Fraser Lane to halfway down the waterfront parking section. That is 25 vehicles with multiple passengers who park, get out, and walk around the downtown core. This is just on this corner, all in front of my store. I've counted 33 removed parking spaces in total, but I could easily have missed some. With 33 spaces removed, it places enormous pressure on the remaining parking. Early morning charter customers, employees going to work, to name a few, would use up a large portion of the remainder. Then what? I've been told several times that it will be better for the pedestrians. But where are these pedestrians supposed to come from? Charter people are out in their boats. Employees have gone to work, so they're not pedestrians. Okay, some people might walk down from the co-op after they park in the co-op parking lot, up the hill, and walk down. But why? You can't see the aquarium from up there, or the crow's nest, or the village green. I can just hear them thinking, I hope there's something down there because I'll have to walk back up the hill. When was the last time anyone here walked up or down that hill by necessity or by choice? As one person said to me, that hill defeats people. Not everyone is a hiker or a walker. When Netflix was here last summer and in front of my store, they constructed a facade on the front of my building. It was supposed to take a day. It took more like 6. Then 2 days of filming, and another 2 days to tear down. I always had at least 2 and sometimes 3 parking slots available in front of my store for those 10 days. While Netflix was in front of my store, my sales dropped by 50%. I was shocked. I did not expect the lack of access to have such a dramatic impact. It's easy to calculate and clear as a bell. 10 days before Netflix, 10 days of Netflix, 10 days after Netflix, down 50% for the entire time they were there. Netflix agreed when they looked at my numbers to pay me 50% more than the original agreement just to cover the lost revenue. And let me repeat, I still had 2 or 3 parking places in front of my store and the other 20 parking places that are proposed to be removed. And I'm referring to the whole 10 days, not just the 2 days of filming, because yes, there were roads blocked off, but the rest of the time they weren't blocked off, just the commotion in front of my store. So, where am I? Not blocked, just access. These are clear and undeniable facts. We do not have to guess what will happen and what the impact will be. So what happens when the closest 25 parking spaces are gone? All access to my building is gone. Not just half of the parking in front of my store, but all the parking in front of my store, and the closest 20 other parking spaces. We all know it will be at least 50% reduction in sales. It is very clear that the impact would be huge. And that is just July and August. What about the other 10 months of the year? We all know the climate is changing and weather events are more severe. We have seen that just recently. How would older tourists, who avoid July and August, access the store? As you drive down Main Street and you come in view of the building, you are almost already out of parking options. On a rainy day, you would just drive on by. I have asked tourists who have shopped in the last couple of weeks, would you have stopped if you could not pull up in front of the store? Almost to a person, they said, no, we would have just kept going. You will see on the survey that I've given you, and, oh, did I bring the survey over here to read? Maybe, maybe not. Excuse me. The District of Included is proposing that all the parking in front of you, the Crow's Nest, and 3 of the 2 closest slots across the street, and all the 8 in the front of the municipal building be removed. The closest parking would be on the other side of the tree up Main Street, which are usually filled with local workers' cars. How would this affect your shopping experience at the Crow's Nest all year round, given our climate and the amounts of rain we experience from September to June? Would you be more likely to shop at the Crow's Nest, less likely to shop at the Crow's Nest, or would it make no difference? There are, I think, 10 pages, and I think there's one person who said more likely. I think there's a few that said no difference, and all the rest of these pages, which you all have copies of, say less likely, less likely, less likely, less likely, less likely. It's just over and over and over again. Okay, so I don't know if you want to look through those or not, but there they are. And you'll see that there are people from both Ucluelet and tourists, because there are tourists this time of year, and they do need access to the store, and they do like to be able to pull in right in front, and it is dark in the evenings, and it is wet and cold. They all said they would not park up the road, especially in the sideways rain or even light rain. Many people need easy access: seniors, disabled, mothers and children. and almost everyone on a stormy day. So you guys have all had a chance to look at that, or if you wish to. We have a lot of seniors in our community, and let's remember that Ucluelet is designated as an age-friendly community. We at Forest Glen were happy to support the district's bid for this designation. This is not age-friendly parking. People in wheelchairs have told me that even a slight incline on a rainy day makes them lose traction. What do you think the next page of my speech is? 4. Here we go. I've got all these other papers. Ucluelet's historic building is relegated to a back corner of insignificance. It will. Oh, sorry, I missed something. By this drawing, oh no, I'll get it together here any minute. Where was I? We have a lot of seniors. Lost traction. Given the impediment to my business in the September-June month, I predict I would be down at least 75%. My business cannot survive this model. The ability for customers to easily access a business is its most important access for success. No access, no business. I have owned the Crow's Nest for 43 years. I have owned the historic building since 1988. I feel I am a custodian of the beautiful historic general store. I have happily kept it alive and authentic. People love seeing an original general store and are delighted to hear how the building faces the water and that everything came in by boat and the freight and the mail were wheeled up the dock into the building, the evolution of a coastal community. How easy will it be for them to imagine those days with manicured corners and shrubs? We all shut down during COVID, but this is a small town and we all know each other. Very quickly I started getting phone calls at home. I need a printer cartridge. I need printer paper. I need school supplies. I'm homeschooling. I'm working from home. I need art supplies. I need COVID posters printed and laminated. I don't think I realized that I was an essential service until that point. I was one of the first businesses to reopen with all the protocols in place. Ucluelet wanted the Crow's Nest open. By this drawing, the historic building is in an isolated corner, cut off from the road, with no parking access, with shrubs planted in front of it, and we all know what happens to shrubs in a rainforest, they grow. So now there is no access and no visibility. Ucluelet's historic building is relegated to a back corner of insignificance. It will no longer be suitable for a retail business. And let's talk about the new parking lot. Businesses downtown were led to believe that it was an additional parking, not replacement parking. We need more parking downtown, not less. No one parks back there from September to June because it is too far in the rain or the cold and when it gets dark at 5 o'clock. I feel I've been misled on this whole parking lot concept and it feels deceptive. There was never a drawing of all the proposed walkways through my property that showed no parking in front of my store, nor was it ever mentioned. Was that intentional? Have I been hoodwinked? So what happens if the Crow's Nest can no longer make it? Well, I guess I sell everything. But what is it worth now that the building has absolutely no access? The value will be in the land, not the building. Mind you, you could tear it down and sell some of that first growth wood. I expect a new investor would want to take advantage of the incredible view down the harbor. So probably a 3-story condo, but not with shops below because we know there's no access. Maybe some offices, but I don't know for what. Anyway, what is your vision? Where did this vision come from? Who is it for? This is not a vision for the Crow's Nest. This is not a vision for any other small business downtown. This is not a vision for tourists. This is not a vision for local taxpayers who elected you, who would like access to their downtown and their local businesses. This is not a vision for seniors. This is not a vision for anyone with a handicap. It is not a vision for mothers with children. And I would say it is not a vision for our local economy. And it certainly is not a vision for my employees or for me. I have a vision. So does every entrepreneur in town. Without a vision, people do not go into business, risk their investments and their time. My vision is for success for everyone, businesses, citizens, and tourists. A vision for the whole community. Why would you limit the possibilities of any business, district, or whole town? This plan kills my business vision and the vision of many other entrepreneurs. Who wants this and why? Who is it that really wants this? And now I need to ask, what is your timeline on this? Should I buy inventory for next summer? With this plan, I will not be able to sell anything new and would have to focus on a closing out sale. I am not insinuating that any of you do not take your responsibilities seriously, but I implore you to think of the consequences of this plan, not just for me and my business, but for all the businesses downtown and all the citizens of Hewlett and all the visitors as well. How important are our historical buildings? I hear from my customers all the time how much they love the authentic feel of the coastal community. People have to drive to reach the West Coast, but you want to stop them on the threshold of the really interesting part of town and make it inaccessible. Why? What is the vision? Surely not another gentrified town that looks like all the rest. We are unique. This is our secret weapon. This is our superpower. The Crow's Nest is a tourist attraction in its own right. I've been told this over and over again. We come to Ucluelet to shop at the Crow's Nest. The first thing we do when we get to Ucluelet is come to the Crow's Nest. I have people who drive from Port Alberni and Nanaimo to do their Christmas shopping. I have tourists in the summer who tell me they do all their holiday shopping while they are in town. This is not just about my store. People ask questions all the time, and we refer them to other businesses, not just downtown, but all over town. We are a unique and beautiful community, not just downtown, but the whole town. We are all in this together. Please, please, think about not just my business, but all the entrepreneurs downtown and all the businesses all over town. Please don't doom us to a painful death. This plan does not support businesses or even the citizens of Ucluelet. What is downtown? So I looked it up. It's a term primarily used in North America by English speakers to refer to a city's commercial, cultural, and often the historical, political, and geographic heart. It is often synonymous with its central business district. Our downtown is historically and culturally important. It is our heart. It is our identity. Let's keep it vibrant and functioning for everyone. Please stop the removal of all these parking places and allow the businesses to function and even thrive. Please. I want to ask you again, whose idea is this? Where did it come from? Who is behind it? Who really wants it? What for? We need a bigger village green for what? What is it ever used for? Once a year we have Canada Day, well, before COVID. The Sunday market is in the summer, but are you aware of how windy and chilly it often is down there? It is often not all that appropriate. Why are you prepared to sacrifice the historic and cultural heart of our town for more village green that barely gets used? Whose idea is this? Where did it come from? I keep asking that question. Who was consulted? I wasn't, and I'm a fairly big stakeholder down there, downtown. What is the premise of this concept? I challenge the whole idea as anti-business, anti-cultural, anti-historical, and completely disrespectful to the stakeholders who invested their heart and soul into this town. Is this how the district wishes to interact with its citizenry and its businesses? I hope not. Save our downtown parking. Save the Crow's Nest. Save the historic district. Save cultural heritage. Save the heart of Ucluelet. There are quite a few slogans that can come out of this. And I will not let my business of 43 years go down without a fight. No one thought to talk to me about this, eh? Too bad. Now we find ourselves here. I'm a numbers person. I analyze everything. I know what happens every day in my business and how it affects sales. I analyze all my inventory. I'm intimately involved in studying every aspect of my business. I believe and I know that the Crow's Nest will not survive this drawing. Please hear me. If this goes ahead, the Crow's Nest will have to start closing down. If you plan on doing this before next summer, I will have to start now. I really never imagined that my 43 years in business would end this way. Being able to pull up in front of a store and run in for what you want is a convenience and a lifestyle that we enjoy in Ucluelet. It is one of the things that makes small town living easy and pleasant. Why do you want to take that away? I did not invest in commercial property and the historic building downtown to have it rendered worthless. Oh, and is it true that there's a second phase to eliminate all the parking downtown? More hidden agendas? I would imagine all the businesses would like to know that. And when is the public going to have their chance to stick their sticky notes? So I ask you again, are you so far down this path that you can't change? Are you trying to accomplish this before next summer? Because I need to know that. I need to know if I'm starting the closing out sale tomorrow. It will take a while to move all that inventory, and I will have to cancel orders for next summer, but that have already been placed. I'd actually like an answer to that question. Were you hoping to tear up the parking before next summer? That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for taking the time and giving us your work that you've done so far on your opinion as well as your guest or your clientele. You had lots of sarcasm in there, so I'm going to try not to respond back too sarcastically with you. But I understand that you may not feel that there's been enough dialogue with you, but that's the whole point of asking for opinions that we've done. And you've submitted to the questionnaire, correct? Yes. And you got some more information. So we do appreciate what you've done for the legwork to with some of the area users. Are there any questions for Jan? Anybody? Yeah, we appreciate you doing all that legwork and giving us your strong opinions of the plans that have been presented thus far. Again, is that sorry? Again, Mr. Lawrence, do you have any comments regarding the project and where we're at this far?
At this point, thank you, Mayor. At this point in time, we're doing that consultation engagement portion of it. We do have the grant timeline, but we're not looking at doing excavations this summer. The earliest that they would occur would be in the fall.
Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. Do we need to wash that mic down before we get the second presenter? Okay, thank you. Thanks again, Jen. Okay, next we have paramedic Baker. Backer.
I'm just going to recuse myself from this so that I can go stand with Marta in case there's any questions.
I like it. Welcome. It's all yours.
Hi, thank you. And good afternoon to Mayor and all the council and all the staff. Great to meet everybody. And basically, I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce the whole CP team. So it's me and Rochelle right now. And also to explain a couple of changes that are happening with the community paramedic program that's new to this community as well as a lot of others. And then leave a lot of time for questions that you might have. Because there is definitely a few changes coming, or here already and coming this way come April. So my name is Marta. I was actually hired here by John Toogood in 2013, so way back. So I've been here for a while, but just since August this last summer, I've been into a new role as a community paramedic. So the idea of this program is to increase the coverage of community paramedicine. So instead of having Rochelle for 2 days a week, the idea is to be presenting here for 7 days a week. So that's why we're doing 3 days on, 3 days off. So we have that 7-day coverage. So that is the idea behind it. And I think you guys are all familiar with the community paramedicine program because of Rochelle's role at the council. But yeah, just so a quick touch base, we're doing not only patient visits and wellness checks, but also doing community outreach like education services. So we got a program set up next year starting in January with Abby and everybody to do educational sessions on AED training, naloxone, and stuff like that. And that's stuff that hopefully we can improve a lot more on as well. So we have a bit more of a presence in the community. And that is stuff that you can request us for as well. So, yeah. And then basically the biggest changes are the 7 days per week coverage. So instead of being on call at home, now there will be 2 paramedics at the station full-time or at least close by within the community that can respond immediately to 911 calls, which is a plus time because it would decrease our response times in this community significantly, I'd say, during the day. And then the downfall is that we can be on a community paramedic project and then get called away. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And then, is there any other changes? Basically, those are the biggest changes for this community. There might be some other ones coming along the way where there's even more staffing coming around, but we don't know that yet. So, and then I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions if you have any about the program. Or do you have
Councilor
any?
McEwen?
Thank you, through the mayor. So just to get it straight, you're both on at the same time, or are you relieving each other? Like you're 3 on and then 3 off, and Rochelle's on when you're off.
Yeah, that's right. So because we both fill the one community paramedicine role together, it will be 3 days Rochelle, 3 days me. But then our partners, our direct partners during the day, are regular paramedics that will be able to respond with together to a 911 call.
Oh, that's what you meant by having 2 on at all times. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Through the mayor, thank you. Have you been asked for 2022 to go into the schools at all and do any programming?
Yeah, well, I've reached out. It's funny you ask because I've reached out with the school, and I just did a hand washing clinic for all the primary classes. So that was actually quite a success. And then hopefully, maybe in collaboration with Karen Bernard, we will be a bit more, doing all sorts of stuff, like anything health related we can do, like even dental hygiene or, hand washing is a big deal right now, obviously, but yes, and hopefully we can do that more as well. Yeah.
Through the mayor, do you respond to our neighboring communities as well? Like, what is the scope of your response area?
Yeah, good one. So we basically have part of the highway all the way up to the summit. So we also do Makoa and Tokart, which is the furthest community that we respond to. And then we have across the bay, so Hauset and, Itatsu and Port Albion. And then towards Tofino, we go as far as Long Beach. That being said, sometimes, especially last summer, it gets really busy in Tofino. They have 2 ambulances, one of them full-time staffed right now, so that's a big change for them. So we have also been going and responding to calls in Tofino, so sometimes we do get to go there, and vice versa. And that's the good part about having Tofino fully staffed now too, is that say we are busy here, there is an ambulance that will be able to respond a lot quicker from their side as well. It still takes a while, obviously, but not as long as it used to, so I think it's a really good change. Yeah. From Tofino? Yeah. Oh, right. Yes. So, yeah, that's a good one. So if there is a community paramedicine event that, for example, an immunization clinic that we would be requested for in Hitatsu Bay, across the bay, we would be bringing our partner that is not a community paramedic, but we would be bringing them along just so that we can respond quick from the area that we're working out of. Yeah. If we would go to Makoa, that's so far away that we likely will try to backfill our direct spot so that we are not responding from there. But yeah, that's the idea. So, yeah.
Through the mayor, have you been having a hard time filling those back spots
Yeah,
with this
good
new
question.
programming?
Good question. There is, luckily in Euclid with Rochelle as well, that works incredibly hard to get it backfilled. So yeah, so we have been very lucky as a community to barely ever the car will go down, versus some community, especially in the north of British Columbia, that are quite short. Yeah, and we actually heard today that there's about a 400 people's shortage. So
Wow.
that's why they're implementing and trying to get, they're basically catching up, and they're trying to make it better and more attractive of a job, more training available. So hopefully we can attract a lot more people. But we're very lucky here in this community with some of our co-workers that have been here for more than 20 years that are still even though it's hard for them, this change as well. Even though this is happening, they're still here and backfilling. Yeah. So yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah, I think you ended it perfectly. We are very fortunate to have community paramedicine. I think we were really receptive of that when there was the first go around going out in the province, and we're very lucky to have, Rochelle and yourself at here. I don't think you're just kind of briskly touching the surface of some of the challenge that you have, but at the end of the day, keeping it staffed is it's very evident. It's only because your guys' hard work, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you too and especially Rochelle. And it's great to have her part of the council so that that there is that information available. So yeah, and nice to meet everybody. It's great to see this. Never been in here before. So.
There you go. Well,
I was like,
yeah.
wow.
Don't look at the wall for too long.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Thanks for your time this evening, and thanks for everything once again.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Okay. Yeah.
We're good? Okay. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1299, 2021, which relates to property at 312 Place of Melford Place. Okay. Little statement from the chair. Thank you, Joseph, for this. As provided for in the Local Government Act, council is required to hold a public hearing before adopting a zoning bylaw or amendment thereto. Please note there will be no discussion during the public hearing, and council is under no obligation to enter into debate of any issue. The purpose is to hear from the public before third reading of the bylaw. Council may consider amending the bylaw based on the public input received at today's public hearing. At the public hearing, all persons who deem their interest in the property affected by the proposed bylaw will be given an opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions on matters contained in the bylaws. However, all who speak at the public hearing must restrict their comments to the subject bylaw, and it is my responsibility to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. You'll have 5 minutes to address council for the first time, but your comments must be focused on the relevant bylaw. After everyone has spoken once, those wishing to speak again will have an opportunity. After hearing submission from members of the public, council may ask questions of the staff to clarify what has been said. However, this is not a question and answer session or town hall meeting. To maintain an atmosphere that is respectful of all points of view, it is important for audience to refrain from applauding or cheering for speakers. Once the public hearing is closed, council will not accept further communications or presentations from the applicant or public respecting the bylaw unless council decides to hold an additional public hearing. Today's members of the public can participate in person or electronically. Those of you that are here in person must remain seated and wear your mask unless you are speaking from the podium. Raise your hand when the chair calls for in-person speakers and approach the podium when you are called on. You can remove your mask to speak, but put it back on before you return to your seat. The manager of corporate services will now provide information about participating in this public hearing electronically.
Through the mayor, the District of Ucluelet official community plan, consolidated zoning bylaw, and the subject bylaw are available here at my desk, at the clerk's desk. They're also available on the district's website. To call in, dial 1-778-907-2071. When prompted by Zoom, enter webinar ID 825-9837-7539. Then hit the number sign. No participation ID is required. Press *9 to speak during the public input section of this public hearing. When it's your turn, staff will call on you for the last 4 digits of your phone number, and Zoom will indicate that you have been unmuted. You may need to unmute your mic by pressing *6. Participate using online. Enter https://us02web.zoom.us/j/8 825-983-77539 into your browser and follow the prompts. Please update your Zoom name to your first and last name. Click the raise your hand icon to speak during the public input section of the hearing. When it's your turn, staff will unmute your mic and Zoom will indicate that you've been unmuted. You may need to unmute your mic as well. Public input will not be received through the Zoom or Q&A functions on Zoom. To participate by email, send input to communityinput@ucluelet.ca. Emails received before the public hearing is closed will be read out loud by staff. The emails received up to this point have been provided to council as a late item, or they're in this agenda package. Whether you're participating by Zoom, by phone, Zoom, or email, start by stating your name and address if you're speaking or writing on behalf of an organization or another person. Please identify and name that person and their address of that organization or person. Now back to the mayor.
Thank you for doing that dirty work. You get the next 6 months off now, okay? I declare public hearing for District of Coolidge Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1299-2021 open. This bylaw relates to the property at 312 Place of Melford Place. I now invite the Manager of Community Planning to provide a brief summary of the proposed bylaw.
Through the mayor, and this will be brief. In general terms, the purpose of this proposed District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1299-2021 is to amend section R-4.3.2 of the District of Ucluelet Zoning Bylaw number 1160-2013 to increase the maximum allowable floor area ratio for the property at 312 Passive Melfort Place from 0.35 to 0.375 to allow enclosure of the carport area in the house on the subject property. And that's it.
I now invite the applicant or their agent to speak.
There are no hands raised on Zoom at this time, nor do I have anyone calling in.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Public input and members of the public will now have an opportunity to comment on bylaw number 1299-2021. I will call for speakers 3 times. First call for speakers. Are there any members of public attending in person who wish to speak to this bylaw? Please raise your hand and remain seated until I call you. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone today. Sorry, terrible actor. I thought I was going for an Oscar. Sorry, to be serious here. It's been a long year. We're at the end here. Okay, anyways. Make myself giggle here. I've got to stop my hair. Are there any speakers on Zoom? Please raise your hand icon if you wish to speak.
There are no hands raised at this time.
Yeah. Are there any speakers calling in? Please press *9 if you wish to speak.
There is no one calling in at this time.
And have we received any emails at communityinput@ucluelet.ca?
We have not received any new emails at communityinput.ca.
I now invite staff to read any correspondence received before the public hearing, which was not published. None. Okay, and I'm going to call for a second round of speakers, starting with anyone in person. There is none, so I'm going to move on to Zoom. Any speakers via Zoom?
No speakers via Zoom or telephone at this time.
Okay, and nobody calling in, hitting *9. And have we received any additional emails?
No additional emails.
Okay. Calling for the third and final time. We have no one present in person. And are there any speakers on Zoom?
There are no speakers with their hands raised on
Okay.
Zoom.
And calling for the last time, any speakers that are calling in, hit *9.
There are no callers at this time.
And just confirmation, we have not received any emails to communityinput@ucluelet.ca.
I have just refreshed it, and there's still no new emails.
Thank you, ma'am. I therefore declare the public hearing for District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1299, 2021 closed. Okay, we're now moving on to item 11 in our agenda reports. There are 10 reports today. The first report is provided by our fire chief is regarding execution of fire services and donation agreements with Toquat Nation. Mr. Lawrence will provide us a brief summary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as council will recall, there were two agreements that were presented earlier this year with respect to a fire service agreement with Toquat Nation for provision of fire services and Makoa, as well as a donation agreement for out-of-service fire service equipment and an old fire truck, also to be donated to the Toquat Nation. The Nation Council has reviewed the agreements and signed off on them. They are now being returned to Council for consideration and execution if desired.
Any questions for Mr. Lawrence regarding this agreement? I think everybody's well receptive of this whole agreement, and so we do have one recommendation.
I'll move the recommendation that council authorizes the mayor and corporate officer to execute the fire service agreement and donation agreement between the District of Ucluelet and Toquat Nation as presented in the December 14th, 2021 report from the fire chief.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. That's well welcomed, and it's nice to see that cleaned up, so it's great. The second report provided by the Manager of Corporate Services is the 2022 Corporate Officer and Duty Corporate Officer appointments. Mr. Rotenberg. Yep.
Through the mayor, I'm going on pat leave. I'm the current corporate officer for the District of Ucluelet. The district's required to have a chief financial officer and a corporate officer. Traditionally, the corporate officer role has been designated to the CAO, the chief administrative officer, with a deputy standing there to assist with the dispensing of these particular duties, the legislative duties, excuse me. Today, what we're recommending is that the CAO be designated effective immediately the corporate officer, or appointed as the corporate officer, that I stand in as the deputy corporate officer until the end of until I go on leave on January 3rd, starting on January 3rd. And that'll allow me to help the corporate officer dispense of those duties, and it gives another individual in the office who can be the commissioner for taking oaths. At that time, we're recommending that my replacement, Paula Mason, be appointed as the deputy corporate officer, who can then assist Dwayne Lawrence, our chief administrative officer, with dispensing of the corporate officer duties while I'm away. So that's the 6 months. At that point in time, we'll have to resort out exactly how you guys want to, whom you would like to appoint as the corporate officer, and whether or not you'd like to appoint a deputy to that position or not. Can I take any questions at this time?
Questions? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Go ahead, Councillor Cole.
I just have a question. The last part of your statement was it's not cut and dry that when you come back from your paternity leave that you roll back into your role and we go back to the way things were?
So the plan is for me to roll back into the manager of corporate services role, but they're two distinct items. Just because you're the manager of corporate services doesn't mean you're necessarily appointed by council to be the corporate officer. Previously, the way that we managed this is that the chief administrative officer was the corporate officer, and I was his deputy. So it would be up to council to make that decision at that point. It's nice to have some depth in terms of staff. So if one person were sick or away and you needed somebody to dispense of these duties, you had another person who could stand in as their deputy.
questions? Please do.
Move recommendation that council approve option A to appoint Dwayne Lawrence as the District of Euclid Corporate Officer effective December 14th, 2022, and that council appoint Joseph Rotenberg as the District of Euclid Interim Deputy Corporate Officer from December 14th, 2021 to January 2nd, 2022, effective immediately, and further, that council appoint Paula Mason as the District of Euclid Deputy Corporate Officer effective January 3rd, 2022. I think there was and the first record, I just noticed it, I reread it as I was reading. The first one, it says effective December 14th, 2022.
Should be 2021.
2021.
Good thing nobody seconded that, so we're good.
I'll second it as amended.
Yeah.
How did my editors miss that? You
I was
two,
reading
good
it
job on
as
you
I
guys.
was like, does it sound right?
There's a no.
Yeah,
And I'll, as a, like, just,
yeah, just
okay.
reread it. We know one second. So go ahead. Put it
We
back on the floor.
recommendation that council approve option A to appoint Dwayne Lawrence as the District of Euclid Corporate Officer effective December 14th, 2021. And that council appoint Joseph Rotenberg as the District of Euclid Interim Deputy Corporate Officer from December 14th, 2021 to January 2nd, 2022, effective immediately, and further, that council appoint Paula Mason as the District of Euclid Deputy Corporate Officer effective January 3rd, 2022.
Second by Councillor Hoare. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed, carried. And yeah, thank you to all of you that are filling in during the absence, and hopefully 6 months goes by very quickly. Enjoy your time, Joseph. The third report presented by the Director of Engineering Services is regarding parking concerns, 1624 Bay Street. Mr. McIntosh, may I invite you to present a brief summary to this report?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This first report, first of three of mine this evening, is about parking concerns on 1624 Bay Street. In 2020, the District of Euclid installed some critical infrastructure that connected Bay Street to Marine Drive. That was a sewer force main that ran behind the UCC from Marine Drive up to Bay Street. So that infrastructure was installed, and on top of that infrastructure was a gravel pathway there. Unfortunately, what was happening was a resident was parking in that space before that infrastructure and path was installed. With the installation of that infrastructure and pathway, unfortunately, that resident lost their parking space there. The District of Euclid also has a parking bylaw that informs residents that they cannot park on the district boulevard there, as we see in the image in front of us where that white car is currently parked. So with that said, the resident has now expressed concerns that with the new infrastructure and pathway, they've lost their parking there, and with our bylaw, they cannot park on the boulevard either. So they're effectively out of some parking options there. So staff have reviewed the concerns of the resident and proposed several options today for council's consideration. Option one, provide driveway access from the street to the fence, to the resident property line there, and then it would be up to the residents, the citizens' responsibility to continue that driveway. So that could happen at a cost of, I believe, about $2,000. So it'd be a little bit of earthwork from the street to the property line. Option B is to move the pathway altogether. So that option will require the construction of a new pathway connecting to the existing pathway, and that would alleviate some safety concerns and pedestrian traffic. So staff estimate that cost would be about $5,500. And then option C is to do nothing and to leave it as is and leave it up to the citizen to complete the driveway themselves. So with that, I'll leave it with council and take any questions.
Councillor Kemps.
Through the mayor to staff. So with that picture up, The option A with putting the driveway. So can you kind of show me on that picture? Would it be down the access? Would they have access down the access way, and then making a driveway into where that tarp is area? Is that where we're thinking?
Through the mayor. So option A would be to have a little bit of gravel and crush on the south side of their property, so essentially in line with the fence. So it'd be just left of where that white car was, and it would connect the street to the fence. So the $2,000 that's been set aside or could be set aside might not even be needed, but it is there if it is needed to do a little bit of earthwork and cleanup.
And I have another question. Sorry. And option B, I have very many questions about this one. And option B, if it was chosen, where would the proposed new trail go to? Where would you move it to?
Through the mayor. So district staff would have further considerations to do about sightlines and optimum path location at that point.
I'm very pro of option B. I've spent a lot of time here when this right-of-way went through. And I'm glad and thank staff and Mr. Lawrence for bringing it before us for discussion. When you look at Wade's house there, he had a double whammy. And we put their line in. He lost his access to the back of the house. I see the house has actually been faced towards the right-of-way like 30 years ago. Everybody had great plans, and it changed. And then there's a double whammy where the white car's parked. We then did a beautiful upgrade and then put a sidewalk in front of this house. So he actually he's been double whammied. So I'm very much option B. I think it's very much, we do need to just review that area and come out with how we can flow that better. I know the previous Sergeant Mancini, when it was built, he had concerns when kids were coming off the path on their mountain bikes and stuff, and they were racing, basically into the street. I know it's a 30-kilometer zone, so, when I see all those three together, and I would like to see more of a fruitful pathway moving forward that, takes in consideration some of the restraints that Wade currently has and how we can move people around, because I believe in this most recent budget, we've also, I'm assuming that we'll deal with the walkway through the Edna Bachelor Park as well, which will tie in quite nicely. And so with that, I think the trail will be used more. So I don't know if anybody has any other comments. Mr. Lawrence?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a point of clarity, so the pathway that we're talking about to relocate is the paved pathway that parallels Bay Street. It is not the right-of-way along the fence line. So it'd be moving that pathway from, the west side of Bay Street to the east side of Bay Street is what we would be looking at.
And I know there'll be a couple other neighbors probably coming before us wondering why our side, but I just can't stress enough that, what's set up for Wade right now, and seeing the traffic come in there, it's very dangerous. And so, yeah, I would agree with you. The other side of the road, is there a way to do that? We'll wait for staff to provide us a report, I suppose. Who? Paul built it, yeah. Paul built it, yeah. Yes. Councillor Keeling?
Just a comment. Thank you for the visual, because based on this report, I had no idea what I was looking at. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Thank you for giving us the options. I appreciate it. So, council direct staff. Well, someone want to direct them option B, or do you want me to do that? You guys, okay, if you're all right, yeah, I'd like to move. I would like to direct staff to look at option B, move the pathway. Oh. You like your black and white photocopying, I know. I think when you're gone, everything's going to get to color again. We're going to get back to normality. That I move that council direct staff to relocate the pedestrian pathway and crosswalk currently located on the west side of Bay Street to the east side of Bay Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of hours on that pathway. Report number 4, the next report provided by the Director of Engineering Services regarding the work order transition plan is for information purposes only. Welcome back, Mr. McIntosh.
Through the mayor, this next report, as you mentioned, is for information only and an opportunity to ask any questions and answer. So this is an opportunity for myself to share with council an initiative to approve the District of Euclid's levels of service and maintenance strategy by implementing a centralized service request and work order management system. The district does not currently utilize a central system to receive citizen requests and manage work. Additionally, corrective and preventative maintenance is not being managed within a formal system. The effect of this system gap is essentially operational performance, which is reactive rather than proactive, and accountability often suffers. In 2017, a solution to this systems gap was created, and the district purchased a software called Citywide. Now, Citywide is an comprehensive asset management system that can do service requests, work orders, and preventative maintenance work. So at that time, district staff received training and some onboarding on that system, that Citywide system. So they uploaded assets and they started practicing with work orders and service requests. Unfortunately, that initiative was not successful. It was not completely implemented, and I believe the reasons for that unsuccessful implementation is that the initial implementation was too complex, so that the system architecture and the options chosen there were too complex. Additionally, too few staff were chosen for training, so staff champions, and those that were chosen for training, those champions, either left their departments onto other roles or left the district altogether. So essentially that system has just been sitting there dormant since then. So that leaves us in today's situation that the current system the district is using to manage work and work orders, corrective and preventative, is paper-based and relies on a decentralized network of phone calls, emails, text messages, sticky notes, etc., whatever it takes to get the work to the correct people and complete it. So the need to have a centralized, modern digital system is still relevant, and district staff have already begun an initiative to start that plan again. So in November of this year, district staff did a rethink and recharge of that initiative by starting what we're calling the work order transition plan. So in November, we started training again in the system. And then into the new year, we'll start rolling that out to more district staff to enter service requests. And then further on into the year, we'll start building preventative maintenance schedules that will go into that system for completion as well. So essentially the end goal is to have citizens able to submit service requests, either by phoning into the district and then having their service requests stored into the system for completion, or they can go onto the district website and complete a simple form, and then that'll go into the system for completion as well. So this strategy begins to move the operations team from a reactionary mode more towards a proactive one, with service levels and citizen requests really being the paramount feature of this initiative here today. So with that, it's just it's a good news initiative, and we're looking forward to bringing that ahead. Can I take any questions?
Questions for Mr. McIntosh?
Through the mayor, thanks, Jane. After a request, so once this is up and running, after a request from a community member is put through onto the website, how is that communication followed up with? Is there a follow-up kind of email that they receive, or that they know that it's been completed? How will that work out?
Yep, through the mayor. Great question. The system can be managed and edited in any way that we like it to perform those features. It will function so people will phone in or complete that form. The system will then send an email saying, thanks very much, your request has been received. That request will then go into the work order management system for completion. Once completed, the system will send a second email to the requester saying, thanks very much for submitting your request. The work has been completed. Are you happy with the work that's been completed? Here's a number, etc.
Thank you. Through the mayor, this is a great opportunity to streamline things for sure. Who is it that prioritizes the requests? Would that be you?
Through the mayor. So we have operational work ahead of us in terms of understanding and deciding at which level, which type of requests will be completed. For example, if a request which could be handled by a general laborer or a foreman comes into the system without any need for additional approval, that will be within their purview to go ahead and just complete that work within their realm. If there's something larger that comes into the system that requires escalation or further approval, that will be escalated to a higher level, so on and so forth, increasing levels of requests, increasing levels of authority.
So the requests could be color-coded, kind of like the ambulance call-outs. Just saying.
Through the mayor, yes, absolutely. There'll be colors and prioritizations.
Any other follow-up questions? It's great. I really hope that we've invested in this program, hoping that it would be used more, and it's great to hear that. I like the timeline, and I think we all look forward to seeing it streamlined a little bit better. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since you're up there, we'll move on to report number 5. The next report, also provided by the Director of Engineering Services, regarding Cedar Hub Washroom contract authorization. Mr. McIntosh.
Through the mayor, this report is concerning the Cedar Hub Washroom contract authorization. In late 2017, Council directed staff to purchase 1638 Cedar Road for the purpose of building a parking lot. That parking lot was envisioned to create the central arrival space with 33 stalls, electric vehicle stations, lighting, access, pedestrian access, and signage to that parking lot. Additionally, there was to be washroom facilities to complete that amenity. The project has experienced scope changes, delays, costs, and schedule overruns, and remains unfinished without the addition of that washroom facility. In the spring of 2019, a design was created by a firm called the Design Center, and they created the design of a washroom facility which was matching Euclid's West Coast form and character. It had a shed-style facility, slanted roof, wood trim, board and batten, etc. In that same year, 2019, the district received a quote to complete that design, and the quote was for $200,000. At that point, the completion and installation of that washroom facility was stalled, and a temporary washroom was put on site. In September of 2021, district staff were asked to come up with a solution and install a more permanent washroom. District staff completed market research and begun a competitive bidding strategy to go to the market and look at prefabricated modular washrooms, to which an array of costs came back to district staff from $75,000 to $300,000, not including a foundation and site work. So it was determined, because of the additional costs, because of the aesthetics, those prefabricated modular washrooms would look very industrial. District staff decided to take the original design from the Design Center, that West Coast form and character architecture, and complete a request for proposal. That request for proposal is now complete. District staff have received two proponents, ranging from $120,000 to close to $400,000, and both submissions are aligning their design in a modular form with the original design from the design center. So essentially, the district would be receiving a modular facility built off-site in that West Coast design, with a little bit of groundwork and some foundation completed, completing all of the districts, following all the districts' building codes, etc., and aiming for an installation date of early spring before the 2022 tourist season. So financially, there remains $100,000 in this project budget, and the successful proponent of this RFP is named Untitled Projects, and they submitted a quote for $120,000. So with that said, district staff provide council with 3 options to consider today. Option A is to authorize $120,000 between $120,000 contract between the District of Ucluelet and Untitled Projects. Option B would be to direct staff to reduce that scope and come back with a different option and re-tender that project. And option C is to do not proceed with the project and just leave it as is. Can I take any questions from there?
Councillor Kemps has been
I've
on the
done
hot seat today.
I'm a little like I'm on fire today. Through the mayor's stuff. Sorry, Jan. We need bathrooms, full stop, yes. And I think we need to have a bigger conversation about this, about the size and scope of what is before us. I am worried because there's just 2 toilets and a lot of utility space, it seems, like, and storage. And I always know we need storage. But I think we have to kind of look at the whole, what's going to happen in the next year if also that chamber building sells and we lose that public washroom from there as well. That if I was a betting man, I would be a millionaire sitting here if I charged 25 cents for every time that washroom was used. So if we lose that, we lose another downtown washroom. And my concern is just having the 2 toilets, and is there a way, and maybe it's going to cost a little bit more, but to extend it into that utility storage room to have 2 men and 2 female washrooms per. That's just my 2 bits worth, whether you want it or not.
So, traveling around the world in the last week or so, by world I mean the island, it is really hard in any community to find a washroom unless you are at your destination, and especially during these times, I don't know. I think that things aren't going to get cheaper to build. It is amazing how expensive something that's just some washrooms can be. It's unfortunate, but I don't see things getting any cheaper. As a matter of fact, I can see what's going to happen with lumber prices with the new moratoriums. It just all, I can't see it ever being a better deal. That's sort of where I stand right now.
Go ahead.
I just don't want to build something and down the way go, oh man, we needed something bigger. Regardless, it's like we just can't, just because it's like the best price doesn't mean it's exactly what we need and want down the road, right? We're getting busier. All we have downtown is those bathrooms at the aquarium, and people are running for them, and the one at the chamber building, I swear it was locked all the time because someone was in there. So I'm just worried that we don't build for size at this time. And if we go back to the, I'm not saying going back to the drawing board, but it's to be able to expand it just a little bit more and add an extra bathroom. And yes, it will be a bit bigger cost, but in the long run,
we're building to what we're going to need, right? I totally agree with Councillor Kemps, because every day, all summer at work, I look at a 10-person deep lineup at the 2 washrooms we have at the co-op, and our staff only have 1 washroom, so we have a 10 deep line for our own. And it's a bad situation. If there was a way to make it 4 washrooms, even if maybe 2 of them weren't accessible and 2 of them were, or something, but I think it would be worth our while to have more, because my worry is with that Chamber of Commerce one gone, it's going to be a problem, because all day, every day, the washroom question is probably literally every second person asks me where the washroom is, or if ours is closed, where they can go.
I hate to delay this anymore because those washrooms were supposed to be in there a long, long time ago.
Lots of times, not June.
But I do agree, if there's a way of having 4 instead of 2, it would be great.
I didn't expect any of this. I think it's good. Personally, if you're up at the co-op or at the chambers up by the brewery, if you need to use the bathroom at the bottom of the hill, you're probably not going to race down there. Personally, I think that, talk about strategy plans. Up at the old chamber building, we know if there is a transition, there'll have to be something put in there. I think this is part of a bigger putting bathrooms throughout the community, whether it's 2 or 4. If that's what the group would like to do, I'll support it. But I think the thing is that we need to put more structures in the community, skate park up on Main Street, and a bunch of other locations that are permanent facilities. They're needed, and there's already 2 other downtown. So
Even
yeah, go ahead.
even that utility storage room, if you turned it into an all-gender or a family bathroom, that would be, it's already got the wall. You just stick another toilet and a sink in there and call it a day. I'm just thinking long-term, if we get that trail through, it'll be more used. It won't be trucking down that whole hill and around the bend to use the bathroom. Just thinking about 5 years from now, when we go, shoot, we shoulda. Well, why don't we just add that utility storage room in? That's just my.
No, it's fine. I'm okay with that. So I guess the question to you, Mr. McIntosh, is looking at this, is the current layout with the footprint. Are you in that utility storage room? If there's just a hot water tank and that can move to be storage, another room, is that room big enough for a washroom with the building code requirements for wheelchair accessibility and stuff?
Through the mayor. This would trigger another iteration of design. So we would be going back to the design team to consider additional options. The design that you have in front of you today is estimated at $600. The quotes that came in were estimated at $600 per square foot to up to $2,000 per square foot. And the opportunity that is here is a contractor that's has us in their queue essentially, and if we had something move forward, we could potentially have something there before the tourist season. So that said, we would be going back to the drawing table, considering designs, re-tendering the project for new costs, and then returning to council with additional options.
In that case, why don't we go ahead and proceed with this and just know that we need the conversation about more bathrooms throughout town?
Through the mayor, I think that we came into this term, spending the first year doing planning, and we still are, whether it's with the downtown core and how things are going, and the idea behind this parking lot, and how I just see in the future. I agree with Councillor Kemp said, I see in the future. I don't like doing things twice. I don't even like walking down the hall and forgetting the laundry basket and having to take 6 steps back, much less redo something that, you know, we have a bit of foresight right now. We know things aren't going to get quieter. We're not going to get smaller. And if you build it, they will come.
I went on their website and they do a lot of, I'm just wondering if this would be, I'm not saying it's certainly a very easy fix, but if we already have that room available for them for us to just say we need we need a bathroom in there and move the hot water tank. I'm wondering if that's not a total design. Sorry, I'm getting into the weeds totally, but I'm like, but really, it's got the room. I just remember changing the building that chamber bathroom and how it was a room. You shove a toilet and a sink in there and make it commercialized, and there you go. But I'm just wondering if it's just a conversation with them, right? I don't know. I just don't want to build something and then we.
Okay, well, we're hearing there's some apprehension here, so I'll move it along. I would move that we have staff go back and revisit the plans and see if there's an opportunity to add a third bathroom where the currently utility storage room is.
Second.
Through the mayor. So was that option C for today?
Additional cost. Oh, C. No, I'm not. Yeah, no, it's not a. You know, I think you're hearing us. I just want to know how I need to. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like delaying.
And I think, you know, another thing too, as you're going through this, Mr. McIntosh, it would be nice to come up with an agreeable concept of a 2 and 3 unit bathroom. If there's a way to duplicate this in other parts of our community as we get going, we're going to need more of this. So I think, you know, coming back for staff of, hey, this is a good spot for a 2-person, this is a good spot for a 3rd person. And so maybe that's the big takeaway of just giving ourselves some options. And then when we do seriously get money for some of these and replacing porta potties with something more permanent, it would be nice to have something that's proven. And I love, since he's working on it, what I like about this is you put in concessions for an outside water filling thing. You know, those are things that we want to see. Good lighting and the ability to have, doesn't mean you'll have 3 bathrooms open all year long, but the ability to turn it on. And I do agree with the group. We would be kicking ourselves in the butt a little bit. So I don't think there's too much of a tweak, and I really want to take the lens of, it would be good money spent. So when we find another location for a similar model, you know, people would be able to recognize them throughout the community and know that's the place to go. Literally. Does that sound okay? It looks beautiful.
Through the mayor. I'll add that what we have here is several iterations of design work and then market research. So this design, this West Coast design, made at a off-site in a modular fashion, design, built and then delivered by a contractor which has West Coast experience here landing projects for this cost and this value. This seems like it could be standardized for the district and then duplicated where needed.
I'm just wondering if you were trying to make space, and do you need a hot water tank? Could you do on demand, like and where you don't actually have to have a big old tank? If you were trying to get back some space.
Yeah, I think you put it up in the attic or whatever. They can. That's. No, I think it's good dialogue. I think we just need option, 1, 2, 3 person bathroom options, and they don't all look different. And
Believe me, it's a conversation we have at the store all summer
oh yeah, no, for sure.
because there's just not enough in this town.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Lawrence, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just thinking while Mr. Rottenberg is working on the resolution for council, is there more direction that council can provide with how many washrooms you're thinking about? Like if we're looking long term for facilities, are we looking at 2, 3, 4? What is council's thought on the number of washroom facilities that they're considering, and then we can look at while we're looking at this facility here, we can start to extrapolate the different sizes that we could consider for future facilities as well.
Well, I think
I'm sorry. I'm just specific to that the unit in that location, not in alternate locations. We can look at that for council. Sorry.
Well, my gut says looking at the drawings that we have is like you could leave it on that slab with those sizes and do 3 if that central room can be turned into a washroom space. I mean, that's that's increasing by 50% what's there. So that's better than a kick in the pants.
And if you didn't have to go back to the drawing board, that would be a fix that would be 50% better than it currently would be right now. But if you do have to go back to the drawing board and start over again, then 4 would
4
be.
for, sure. For that size of footprint and where it's located. I think 4 would be beneficial. But if it's just a redraw for that space,
Thank you.
Thank you. Is everybody okay with that? I move that council direct staff to revisit the plans and see if there is an opportunity to add a bathroom in place of the existing utility room.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. So close.
Thank you.
So close. But we have to really embrace what you have here before us. It looks West Coasty. It fits a lot of needs, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Good feedback. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, please. Thank you. You'll be back. You'll be back. It's all good. That's a problem when you give us choices. I'm sorry, when you provide us the opportunity to come to options. Yeah. Okay, 6th report here. The next report is provided by the Director of Parks and Recreation regarding Appetite House project update. Is for information purposes only. Welcome, Ms. Fortune.
Shorter one of the group. James. All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Paula, can I just get that first slide up, please? Thank you very much. And can we make it big? Oh, and I've got a clicker here, don't I? What's up? I know you in the sunshine. Let's not forget that. Okay, I'm pressing escape. Oh, did I do that or did you do that? Sorry. There we go. All right. Okay, through the mayor, I'd like to provide an update to council on Appetite, if I can say the word, Appetite Point House project. As you're aware, in August 17th at the regular council meeting, council made a recommendation to support the Appetite House project schematic design in order to advance to design development and to develop proposed costs. Staff have been progressing through the preliminary design phase and working with the design consultant. The architectural schematic package was received in late November with approval for the architects to proceed with the development of construction documents. This design has been based off public input from past feasibility studies with the community and key organizations. Okay, you ready? Let's see if I can make this work. Oh. This is the north wall. And I'm going to try and, okay, you guys are up here, right? Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to point out, can you see right here? The external door, that's what I wanted to point out. Good catch. That is an outdoor washroom, so I just wanted to show you guys. Speaking of washrooms, yes. One moment, please. I will get to that. But I wanted to point that out to you guys. So, let's see there. As you enter the house from the north entrance, visitors are welcomed into a multi-purpose space. Nice, beautiful space. This will provide for a variety of uses, including general programming, interpretive programming, space for private functions and events, and of course, static displays. The design includes an open concept floor plan with the window glazing along the south wall. As you see, this is the south wall. And portions of the east and west wall to provide views towards the oceans and the lighthouse. So that's something that we're looking at right now. So that's the east wall, southeast wall, our view, sorry, as you look out. We're just working on the amount of glazing on that area because we do have to make it solid as well, because weather's been known to come up to that area. That's the north view, so that's looking back. So you'd come in that front entrance area. And we do want to have some wall because it's really in order to hang information items or do a display or have an interpretive program. We want to make sure that we've got some wall space as well. I think I wanted to go, oh, nope, sorry. Got ahead of myself there. So we will have 2 washroom facilities are being proposed. Both are universal accessible and include a family washroom with a sink, toilet, and change table. One bathroom can be accessed through the exterior of the house on the north side of the building, and the other one is through the exterior. Sorry, interior and exterior. So they're side by side, but one's on the inside and one's on the outside. An enclosed staircase will also provide access to the basement, which you know is unfinished, and that includes storage space for supplies, portable furnishings. That's approximately 900 square feet. I'm going to switch to a prettier picture. Hold on. Let's see if I can do this. So the wraparound deck is partially covered by the roof overhang on the east side and the south side of the house. The deck provides opportunity for programming, seating, and lounging outside with the views to the east, south, and west. The exterior of the house is designed to celebrate the former innkeeper's residence with finishes and color choices typical of the traditional innkeeper's residence. So white walls, red roof.
Light keepers.
Oh, not the innkeeper. Good catch. Thanks for that. I'm not quite, yeah. Missed that one on the edit. Sorry about that. And I just want to go through the landscaping with you. Now, one of the things I did want to point out to you, as I was just talking about, this side of the deck and this side of the deck will be larger. This is more an access side from this end where the path will come down. And the path will be completely accessible. And then we have the James parapet. Did I get it right? I got it. So this wonderful area here, which we'll be able to use for programming as well, which will attach to the deck. So we're in the process of finding the development of landscaping that would integrate the new lighthouse resident design, lands, and the Wild Pacific Trail. The new upper pathway will provide access to the observation point and the wraparound deck, which includes seating and site furnishings such as tables and/or picnic tables. The new path will reduce the grade and provide access to the Wild Pacific Trail. So that's this front area here. And existing viewpoints proposed in the amphitheater style seating. So your viewscapes are here and here. And we line with the back side of the house there. One of the other things we're looking at right now is this. I have to squint because my glasses are just not working for me these days. Right there, I believe. James, help me. That's the tent area. Wow, I really gotta get my glasses checked. A 6 by 6 meter tent space is intended to provide opportunities for the district and or private rentals are using to host functions, education opportunities, and events in the park. So now what? So we're in final design right now. So next steps are the Class B project cost estimated to be completed by a contractor towards the end of January, early February. Presentation of design and costing will go to council in your February meetings. Will be designed to designed to be shared with the public for comment. We'll continue in February, and then we'll look at RFP and the development in March and April, with hopefully starting construction in the fall, obviously dependent on contractor availability. But that's where our next steps. So I just wanted to catch up as to where we were at from August, and appreciate if you have any questions or if you have any clarification I can make. I will do my very best.
Thank you, Ms. Fortune. Councilor Hoare.
Thank you, Miss Fortune. I'm just looking at all of the lovely glazing and windows, and I know you made a comment about walls for static displays, but I'm also thinking if there are, if this multi-use space is used for presentations, is there a plan that there might be a wall that could be used for projection across?
Exactly.
Upon?
Yes, that's exactly. That would be the where am I? Northwest wall is what we're looking at for that. So yes.
Just making sure.
Yeah. No, that was definitely one of the things we were looking at.
Easier to have a space for it than to be trying to throw a screen up or something.
Exactly.
Thank you, through the mayor. So is there an open kitchen in here? There is, isn't there?
So what we're looking at is a cafe space, and so we're loosely, so it will be small, but the intent, so we're just working on finer details on that right now, so I didn't want to give you a lot of details with that. But that's, the intent is to have a coffee bar, for lack of a better word, where you can have cookies and muffins or something along that line. So you can grab that coffee and go out on that deck and enjoy yourself.
And one more question: storage access. So
Yes.
I see that there's an inside staircase to
Yes,
downstairs
that's
to
correct.
900 square feet. I've been hoofing tables for 2 days now.
Yeah.
And they're
Storage
heavy.
access upstairs.
So I know you're mindful of
Yes.
if we're doing events and these to be easily accessible
My
tables and chairs.
staff
and so
would
forth.
kill me, so let me ease your mind on that one. On the back side of this is storage. So we've got storage and the stairway. So that's what this wall takes up, is that sort of end of things. As well, the back side of the washroom is on the further side, but yeah, no, storage was definitely, you could never, as you well know, Councillor Campus, have enough storage. No.
Are you also going to are you going to put benches along the windows so you don't necessarily have
Or
to have chairs, but kind of like
Yeah, we're looking at that. That's a conversation I've had with the architect. I think that might come down to funds in the end, but a bench seating is something we are definitely looking into. Yeah, exactly. Gives us extra storage, similar to what we've got at the back side of the main hall of the UCC. Yeah.
Thank you. Through the mayor, this looks really, really great.
Thank you.
Is there room in the budget for some sort of blinds for all those windows? Because it's going to be smoking hot in there in the summer.
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that, but I can get an answer back for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And again, the accessibility of the storage down below, that's going to be something where different possible user groups, if they're having to have the evening booked on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, they'd be eligible to access those lockers.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And I think, in the bathrooms, a real conversation here, you heard it. And, as you're going in the plans, I think this big hub, basically you're going to have one bathroom on the outside.
Yep.
And when the building's open inside, you're going to have another bathroom available to them.
That's correct.
yeah, I just, once you're sorting this all out, because that looking at the previous report we had from Mr. McIntosh, it was 200 square feet for 2 bathrooms.
Yep.
And this is 900 square foot footprint.
So it's 12. It's 1234 actually.
Yeah, it's for me as I look at it as you go down. I'd hate to. I would like to see option again of what a second outside bathroom looks like, because this is, if we're worrying about the parking lot downtown, I can only imagine what it's down there in the middle of the season. Just for not to cloud it, but just for you to look at it. There's creative ways to add more down there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
I have a question. Through the mayor, Abby, do you know, we're talking about possible venue for events, et cetera. Do you know what the occupancy, say, for a stand-up cocktail reception would be, and maybe that could be related to how many washrooms you're going to be needing?
And they did take that into consideration with planning. It's 50 is what that room fits. Now, Councilor Cole, I'm not sure if that's seated or unseated, but the number that's been flying around is 50.
Any other questions? Thank you for the update. We're looking forward to it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Report number 7. The next report is also provided by the Director of Parks and Recreation, is regarding Small Craft Harbor overhold agreement. Ms. Fortune.
You got it. Thanks. Through the mayor, before you have a recommendation that council authorize the District of Ucluelet to enter into an overhold agreement between the District of Ucluelet and Small Craft Harbor's Department of Fisheries and Oceans until such time they have a new head lease agreement is executed. So currently what's happened right now is our Small Craft Harbor head lease ends on January 3rd. District staff has reached out numerous times with DFO to see where they're at with their new head renewal. And they are actually doing their own new template, which they have not completed yet. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, basically, and that's hence overhold. And so once DFO has approved the template, the district will be able to proceed with the head lease for Small Craft Harbors for Ucluelet. But right now we need to go into an overhold agreement, and I need your permission to do that. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Who would like to move the recommendation? Councilor Hart.
I will move that council authorize the District of Ucluelet to enter into an overhold agreement between the District of Ucluelet and Small Craft Harbors, Department of Fisheries and Oceans, DFO, until such time that a new head lease agreement is executed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I really like the pros, cons, implications, and the A, B's, and C's, and how it's the formatting is. I just want to compliment everybody on the, yeah.
Although we always need option D, council's random.
We
need the old washroom option here.
James is going to create option D, I can tell.
I'm glad they didn't ask us about paint color, so. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I agree with you. Report number 8. The next report is provided by the Chief Administrative Officer, is regarding seasonal office closure. Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before council is a proposed policy with respect to closing the municipal office during the holiday season between Christmas and New Year's. Each year, staff come to council requesting that we close the office and allow staff to visit family, and that we have very, very low, if any, visitations from the public or public inquiries between December 25th and New Year's. So the policy would allow us to make this closure a seasonal occurrence, and what it would allow is us not to have to come back to council every year requesting that we can close the office. So the policy basically states that we would close on at the end of day on December 24th and reopen at 8 o'clock a.m. on the first business day after New Year's Day. It gives us that little bit of flexibility with the timing so we don't have to worry about dates on an annual basis within the policy.
Why is Monday the 3rd of January not the opening date? Why is that not a business day?
Oh, in this instance, the stat holiday is on January 1st, which rolls over to
Oh, 'cause it's a
the
Saturday.
3rd. Yes.
I'm happy to move this. I want somebody to show it to Lori. I'll move the council adopt the annual municipal office holiday closure policy 7-2510-3.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Check listing for November 2021. The next report, check listing November 2021, is for information purposes. Any questions? Okay, moving on. And the last report's resolution tracking is December 2021, is also for information purposes. Does council have any questions? Go ahead. Lease agreement? 2018?
Through the mayor to staff, just
Yes, ma'am.
on, I will ask on the Forbes Road, 354 Forbes Road, we have no, it says in progress, report back, but I'm just curious if anything's happening there.
Through the mayor, we have had some progress. I'd suggest that reporting back in the new year, we'll have more details and a request on. And I think we'll see the bylaw moving forward in the new year in short order.
Councilor McEwen?
Just wondering about lot 13, where that one is at.
Through the mayor, so lot 13, which was a rezoning for affordable housing, and there was a development permit that was also issued after the rezoning was approved by council. You'll recall. Subsequently, they applied for the subdivision. They received a preliminary layout assessment, which basically lists the conditions that they need to meet, and really, it's in the applicant's hands to do that. And so many of those conditions are around the engineering, the surfacing of the development, and we understand that they were going to go through the step of doing pre-sales to essentially assure the financing with BC Housing. So really the timing of that is up to the developer at this point.
Thank you.
Okay. If you don't mind, we're moving on to legislation. If we don't mind, can I just make a motion, take a 5-minute recess? We'll finish off the second
I'll
half
second
of
that.
this. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Moving on to legislation, this report is prepared by the Director of Community Planning, is regarding Euclid Official Community Plan Bylaw number 1236/2020. Welcome, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you. Through the mayor, I'm going to try and present where I can actually show you a couple of things and point out some areas here. But just very briefly, following the November 23rd Committee of the Whole meeting, Council had given some direction after the discussion with the community on the growth options that were presented, and had given some direction that there was interest in seeing what a low-ish or low to medium growth scenario would look like. So we have, essentially that's what I'll be presenting now. And I'll highlight some changes that we've then inserted to reflect that in the draft official community plan, which we're calling version 7.3 now, which is in your agenda today. So and I'll highlight basically the changes to Schedule A, which is the long-range land use plan, and then how that reflects in and has sort of echoes in some minor changes in Schedules B, changes to Schedule C, which is the Parks and Trails Network, and D as well. As well, we've inserted a new Map 9 and some policies, which I'll just highlight those all very briefly. So this chart shows, this is you'll be familiar with this chart that we had presented, where the low, the medium, and high growth scenarios in the Committee of the Whole meeting, and so we have inserted the low-ish scenario, which was really a splitting the difference, if you will. But then, so this would result in essentially, in a nutshell, looking at roughly a permanent population around 2,600 in 2050. That's about 1% per year over 30 years. So adding about a third to the population over that time frame. So that's fairly low compared to what we've been seeing recently. Still maintaining that 60-40 ratio, which had been discussed. And so that really, we're looking at modest development of new tourist accommodation. You'll recall that the low growth scenario was really putting a lid on opportunities for expansion of existing or new tourist accommodation. But so this is some modest development, but so prioritizing the housing to get the balance, and then that includes designating some areas that would be outside of the plan, the 2050 sort of time frame that the OCP is drafted to look at. So this is the low-ish scenario, and basically following the same format as had been discussed at the Committee of the Whole, showing how the land base would be affected. So I'll just point out a couple of things here, in that some of the areas, so around the expanding on Marine Drive towards the former forest reserve lands or the Weyerhaeuser lands, there is a portion where the development would be, though it's slightly modified from what had previously been shown. As I said, there are still the more magenta colored areas, or the sort of the hotel and resort designated, but there used to be 4 of those along the waterfront, and 2 are now showing as multifamily. So there'd be a little change of the balance in that mix. As well, there's a portion of land that was off Monado Road that had been shown as tourist commercial, reflecting the campground that had been recently rezoned and approved there. And so this is also shown as a mix of multifamily and single family, and that's actually after some discussions with the new owners of the property as well. So that does help, again, the balance of housing versus tourist commercial. And an area really on the Ani lands as well that is shown around the signature circle, but also a mix of tourist commercial, multifamily, and single family, where the existing services are already extended out to that end of Florencia Drive where the traffic circle is. There's already municipal services in that area, so that's part of the land base. So this is essentially sort of looking at the balance between what had been the low and what had been the medium growth sort of patterns, and the other area on the inlet would be the one sort of resort marina where there's deep water access, and that former essentially it was a logged area, and it's a recent second growth in that area as well. So that then relates to the Schedule A land use plan. We've essentially updated it to reflect those changes. So you'll see the land use designations, like with the tourist commercial and multifamily, and the other changes then is some of the land that is shown outside of the plan is in this sort of gray area, and there's some corresponding policy around sort of areas that's labeled now as areas of potential future growth. So essentially that within this low-ish approach scenario would be with a low growth. So those are areas that may be developed one day, but it really isn't anticipated, or we're planning for infrastructure for those within the immediate future. So it would take an application to amend the OCP, an update of the OCP at some point, in the future, which would trigger that sort of change. But for now, sort of showing that the plan is to not sort of designate all of that land for growth within the sort of near time frame and the time frame of the OCP. A couple of other things I'll just point out, edits to the map. So I pointed out the property off of Monado Road, which is now showing multifamily and single family designation in here. But also there was some discussion in the committee of the whole meeting around the balance and amount of light industrial space potentially, and with the discussion of another landowner, we are showing that there's one property on Monado Road that is currently it's zoned single family residential. It's a large property, but the designation it's showing here is part of the light industrial mixed use. That's really the expansion of the Forbes light industrial area into the Weyerhaeuser lands, and potentially as well down towards the seaplane base. There's a portion there that's shown as potentially that sort of mixed use, so housing and sort of the light industrial uses shown in there. The other thing I would just point out, and I don't know if it shows very clearly on the screen here, but we also had feedback around the tone showing the parks and open space, which is a mix of what's current or future considered parkland or privately owned but open space, undeveloped land, and that there was some confusion or concern that it be having sort of one tone for that, including all of the rocks and islets and islands offshore, maybe give a false impression that was expected to be parkland with recreation facilities. So we've simply added a hatching so that it's those islets and islands offshore are now shown as marine conservation, to make it clear that there's no intention to build tennis courts or baseball diamonds on any of those islets. And let's see. The policies also that go in the hand in hand with some of these changes that are shown in the land use plan that sort of clarify that. We've highlighted in the agenda, and so these are inserted into that draft 7.3, which is attached to the agenda here. So the first one, this is really about the regional context. So with that lowish growth scenario, this is signaling that to the region that this OCP incorporates as a starting point plans and policies directing a slower, lower approach to growth and development appropriate to the current context in the West Coast region. Map 9 shows the lowish growth scenario analysis that informed the plan. So that plan that I showed you a few moments ago is now attached in the OCP as a map. So we have the schedules, which have some regulatory weight to them. And then really for information, we have a series of maps. We had 8 of them. That lowish growth scenario is now attached as map 9. And really the intent is that as time goes by, an OCP is a living document. So whether it's 3 or 5 or 17 years down the road, when there's an update and they're trying to understand how did they come up with this growth projections, we want to have that information really captured there to sort of add as much sort of background as we can. And this is the policy section that is really explaining that, as I described, the areas of potential future growth, the areas that are really outside of the current plan. Briefly, I mean, there aren't that many of these insertions, and I'm not sure if council would like. I can certainly read them through if anyone's watching online who's interested. They are in your agenda package. I think the what this captures though is that the policy. There's sort of some background there. The policy is really clear, saying it's not considered to be in the public interest to extend services or approve subdivisions that would create new parcels within areas designated as areas of potential future growth on Schedule A. So that's what that sort of statement would trigger, is that if there was a time when there was a comprehensive plan for those areas, it would mean an amendment to the OCP in conjunction with a rezoning or as an update as it happening and as part of the regular review and update of the OCP. As well, and there was some discussion, and council had given some comments and direction at the committee of the whole meeting about setting a target. So we have this policy really for the housing portion of new developments. This policy 3.134, which was in the OCP, spoke to ensuring that larger developments are required to provide affordable housing as a portion of each development phase. It then mentions the completion of the land use demand study, which is underway and almost complete. And housing needs assessment should provide guidance for the district to adopt targets for percentages of affordable housing in new developments. What's been inserted and is new is the wording that says, as a starting point, target a minimum of 75% of housing in new developments to be attainable by Ucluelet resident households. And this was that portion. It goes in conjunction with that bit of new light industrial mixed use we were referring to, and we've added some pictures of sort of what some of the thought around this was. And this is really in the particularly to the north west of the Forbes Road light industrial area. There are areas that have been designated as potential new light industrial areas, and the intention is that those could be combined with housing. So really, it's adding to the policy that's already in there, talking about an employment-intensive area on Forbes Road, but adding to the last sentence, which said, explore the inclusion of live-work light industrial uses within this area. And we added the wording, particularly on new lands with light industrial designation to the north of Forbes Road and off of Monado Road. And so that this is actually some examples from Courtney, an area they refer to as Tin Town because there's a lot of corrugated siding in this area. But as you can see on the lower levels, some of it is workshop space and some of it's sort of the overhead door, contractor space and that sort of thing. But it's all housing on the upper floors of it. That might be sort of the scale that would function to create both the support for businesses as well as housing for workers. So as I mentioned, the changes to the Schedule A, the long-range land use plan, did have some ripple effects, I guess, in the other schedules. So this is the major transportation network. And so really what I just highlight is that still what's shown in the long range is that Marine Drive would be extended through the length of the district as development does head out in that area. This is the Parks and Trails Network, Schedule C. The major change really is updating the polygons of showing, wrong button, there we are, that in the areas where some of what's shown sort of more generalized future potential growth areas, those polygons are sort of reflected on this plan. There was one section, there was some concern about a mid-block pathway, so a portion of that has been removed after discussion with some of the property owners, and that the pathway is still shown in the development permit guidelines within that village core area, but is no longer shown on this map. And then Schedule D is the servicing, the water and sewer infrastructure, and it had shown some future pump stations, again, in the area out, potentially in the future areas of potential growth. So given that those are shown to be outside of the area, those have just been removed from this plan. Otherwise, the rest of it is the same. And there was a request for some information. So in the draft OCP, in one of the appendices, there was this this sheet which had some projections of population growth, some data on what has been over the past years, the growth in traffic on the highway, as well as visitors at the Pacific Rim National Park Reserve. And we've added this pie chart showing, and this was some information that was provided from Tourism Ucluelet, as well as some of our data, that really say, in rough numbers, that you have a permanent population, permanent residents of just under 2,000, or 1975 is pretty close to what we think the census numbers are going to come out at later this year. Roughly 525 sort of seasonal additional population. That'd be second home owners, seasonal residents, and seasonal workers. And then, so that's a total of about 2,500 at the sort of peak season. And overnight visitors are about equal to that, another 2,500, and about 1,000 day visitors. And kind of the takeaway here is that for a population of just under 2,000, we're providing services for 3 times that, for about 6,000 people during the busiest weeks of the summer. And there was a noted, few notes, I probably should refer to my notes and just add a little of this. Here we are. We noted in the staff report as well that this section was adding basically essentially a new designation for development approval information area. And this designation would allow council to consider adopting a future bylaw that would essentially establish templates or terms of reference for when an applicant is providing reports from engineers, biologists, that sort of thing. So it sort of sets clear that type of bylaw sets clear guidelines or expectations for a development application of like what sort of report do you need when I'm making an application, say for rezoning or that sort of thing. By inserting this in the OCP, then when it becomes time and council is considering adopting the bylaw that puts in place, you don't have to also do an OCP amendment to first enable it. So this is the language that would allow that to happen. And that's just noting that's on page 124 of the draft of the OCP here, page 123 of the agenda. So I think next steps, essentially, that first of all, to see if there's any questions, if we've captured the changes that council is looking for, given the feedback in that committee of the whole meeting. The potential and the recommendation is that council could rescind second reading because there have been changes made to the draft prior to this even. That second reading is a little stale dated with the changes in the document. So rescind second reading, make all of these changes that are being proposed here or others if council wishes. And the next step would be to give it second reading again as amended and then consider referring it to a public hearing. And at this point, if that's the direction of council, we're looking at probably the last week of January, perhaps around the 1st of February, to give notice in the new year, not to be sort of confusing notice during the holiday season, and to give some lead time to that, but that could happen in fairly short order. I would just note that there's the alternative motion, which I think is on page 116, which could also, if council wished, would add a motion to do a 60-day referral to external agencies. That's something that if really council wishes to do that again, we could. That has been done in the past, and we're suggesting that it's unlikely, given the comments that came from the first round of referrals, that given these changes that have been made, that there would be anything substantial in that. And so I would just add to that that it's entirely up to council how much time that sort of consultation with other agencies is done. If council's motion is to not add that 60 days, then when the notice of the public hearing is given, we would send it to those agencies as well. So they would still have that opportunity. Are there any questions?
Thank you, through the mayor. Mr. Gregg, will this document, this OCP, be adopted within our lifetime? But on a more serious note, I would love to see it adopted before our term of office ends. This was my platform when I ran for council the first term. So that was 7 years ago. Not saying it's not great work. It is. It's like, I can't believe all the work you've put into this. It's just incredible. And we all appreciate it. It's just so time consuming.
And we're not even doing the work. Bruce is looking at you. Here we got the December jiggles.
Through the mayor, I'm not sure there's a question there. Other than I think I still need to go back to the budget and see about getting that crystal ball in the budget. What we had suggested with timeline of doing that, if it is referred to a public hearing this evening by council, I do think we're looking at the last week of January, February 1st, maybe. I think there's a few days in there, whatever works with everyone's schedules. Because it would be, I would expect it would be a standalone public hearing for the OCP, I imagine, and would expect and encourage people to speak to it. That then depending on that public hearing, council could consider, the options are at that meeting or its next regular meeting to give it third reading. It could happen certainly in February, I would think.
Through the mayor, thank you, Bruce, for all this work. One question: you said a few minutes ago that you admitted a pathway on Peninsula Road. Is that behind the Pacific Rim Motel?
It is.
Thank you. Okay.
Councilor Hoare, do you have any comments?
Now that you've revised the maps, I have to give my mom a new set of maps. and I just sent a package to her, and I forgot to put the new maps in it. She has the full OCP. She's reading through it. She's making comments. Thank you for all the work. I love the lowish growth scenario stuff. I find it, I guess I have to say, not surprising that we provide services for 3 times as many people as live here, because that's certainly what it feels like every day at work. Thank you for all of the work.
And thank you for taking the time to sit with people, Bruce, and make sure that, parties that wanted some questions answered and to feel a little bit better about things, that happened, and appreciate, because I respect how much time it's taken without having that portion as well. So thank you for getting that done.
Well, through the mayor, if I will, that there's been public input for years now going into this, but even in the committee of the whole meeting, there were some things that came up and was like, oh, there's some confusion here. So we had a very productive, a couple of conversations with different people in town that raised some really good insights, and like the notion of show a little different tone on the map for the little islets and islands offshore, so that it's clear that doesn't become soccer fields. Not that you could, but sure, that's a good idea.
Lots of head nods, so I think we're all going to try to accommodate Councillor McEwen's Christmas gift that she wants for next year, which is done. And again, I'm just going to echo it. I'm on repeat mode. Everybody's saying I just really appreciate that a lot of the comments that we heard at the last committee of the whole, that you put them in here, and that you reached out to a couple of well-respected people in our community with their opinions, and trying to making sure they understand the sky isn't falling in this OCP, that it's definitely something that is drastically different than we've ever had before, with lots of great contact. And I do appreciate, which I was surprised at how quickly you were able to get the visitor head count, which is, that was my only ask, and I think it'll assist us as we go down into the budget for 2022 regarding, really what is the drain on the local resident population compared to tourism activity. So we'll save that work for next year. But yeah, I look forward to moving these recommendations and getting to the next committee of the whole, our public hearing, and then I think I've always said, I think we've always been 95% there. It'd be nice to get to the 100% and get on to something new. So it'll be great. Okay, you go for it.
Since it's my Christmas present, I will read the motions. I will move that council, with regard to Ucluelet official community plan bylaw number 1236/2020, rescind second reading of the bylaw. Shall I do these one at a time? All together? Number 2, amend the bylaw to incorporate the edits as presented in draft 7.3 as described in the staff report dated December 14th, 2021. 3, give the bylaw second reading as amended. And 4, refer the bylaw to a public hearing.
I will second that.
Perfect. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks again, Mr. Gregg and Mr. Toogood. I know that you guys spent a lot of time on this, and it's very evident in the final product that we got, so thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, notice of motion. I'm not aware of any. No bombs. Okay, we're good. We have 2 correspondence items. Anything anybody want to pull out?
Thank you. Through the mayor, the mudflats. This is Ardent Properties, which is managing the Water's Edge condos, and they are concerned about tourists walking on the mudflats and are wanting to maybe get some signs similar to the Spring Cove signs. And I thought that was a really great idea, and just wondered if they would be willing to pay to have those made. I don't know who I'm asking, but
I'm going to look over to Mr. Lawrence there and see if he's got comments.
It would really depend on whether or not it's on private lands or a district-owned land. So if it would be private land, then it would really be the responsibility of that private landowner to install the signs. If it is on district property or district access points, then we could look at the installation of signs on our properties. So it would really depend.
I'm wondering, is Mudflats not DFO territory?
It is DFO, but it's the access points.
Oh, I see. And Misfortune is going to shed some light.
I'll try. Through the mayor, yeah, I certainly can look into that further. As Mr. Lawrence said, it's dependent on access points in that area, and I'd like to find out a little bit more specifically what they're talking about. It's a pretty general statement, so I'm not sure if they're interior or exterior of that walkway area there. So I can certainly get back to you guys on that, and we can do some follow up.
Perfect. Good with that? Are we all good with correspondence? Councillor McEwen?
Thank you. Through the mayor, I feel that 14.2 has come before us before, and just wondering what rodenticide the District of Ucluelet does use. And I think we even, I think I asked that before too, and I don't remember the answer, but
Well, you got the Parks and Rec person right there.
We don't. I actually, quite honestly, I would have to get back to you because I know this has come up before. We have, yeah, and we do have. We try and do as natural as possible, obviously, and then when we've got real issues, we usually bring in a professional to do the work on that. It's not something we necessarily do on a daily basis. But if you'd like, I could get some more information.
as long as you use sort of natural, organic as much as possible, I'm happy with that.
That is the general gist of how we deal with things.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Oh man, we're gonna make it to the end here. We're gonna do it. Okay, moving on from cheese slices, we're gonna move on to information items. We have a few. Does anybody like to speak to any of them?
Was anybody going to say anything about our audit service plan? I guess that was the only. Is anybody speaking to any of it, or we're all good?
Through the mayor, I think it's just it's the same company we've used before, and they're just giving us their timing of when and how they're going to audit us.
And how much they're going to charge us?
That too.
That's the motivation. Okay. And then we're going to council committee reports, starting with Councillor McEwen.
November 27th, I attended the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board of Trustees meeting via Zoom. And they did ratify their contract with the QP workers, so that was the good news that came out of that meeting. And December 9th, we all attended our first budget meeting, which was long but very interesting. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Kemps?
And I will just echo Councillor McEwen. I also attended the budget meeting last week, and that's all to report.
Councillor Hoare?
I've always got something else. The budget meeting was long, but I still managed to almost land on my ass on the icy dock, watching the sail past, which was fabulous, as the mayor mentioned earlier. I attended the Wild Pacific Trail Society December 1st, and the exciting thing is that they're almost done with some of the new lookouts, so yay, more spots to watch the waves. And watch out for trail closures when we have big winds, because it's more the winds that are the issue. In other news, and throwing my other hat on from the co-op, just an FYI to all of you that we have some early closures coming up. This Friday is our Christmas party. We will be closed at 5, December 17th. And then also Christmas Eve, we close at 5. And on New Year's Eve, we will be closed at 6 o'clock, not 7. So don't leave it to the last minute to do your shopping. There's great Christmas presents there, but, you know, you can get in before like 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve. Pretty sure. Even you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And moving on to Councillor Cole.
Did anybody mention the Christmas party?
You going to? You go do it.
Yeah.
You do it.
So that was fabulous, and no, that was well put together by everyone. Then thanks for that. And there's one smiley picture of all of us. That was nice. Who forwarded that? Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. So good. And of course, budget. And I did meet yesterday with the new, so on an ACRD level, the new CAO that we hired, Daniel Sayland, and he is a rock star. Really looking forward to him at the table in the next months to come. And I know Your Worship, you're meeting with him tomorrow, so I did plant some seeds and get him, you know, get the little bit of pavement down there for you too. And then today I sat in with the Tokwat Emergency Management Meet, Greet, and Brief that had been postponed right when the roads were, the guy couldn't get here, who was helping facilitate, couldn't get here. And so I think because of the lack of travelability across the province right now, it was via Zoom. So I have a bit of information I will share with the chief on that, but that's the tie-in to his report, and they're doing really fabulous work up there. Very, 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 very impressive. So that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. I attended the Barker Community Forest final meeting of the year wrap up. So it's just good to see that the most recent cut has been awarded to Probin out of Portal Bernie. So they're moving along with road building, and it's all positive. We all know that there's been some really direct beneficial wins to the community, and I anticipate in the new year we'll have a better understanding what that means here locally. You know, dividend checks, and so it's. But again, we'll probably won't see anything, but just rest assured, there's some big wins here for both communities with the most recent awarding to Probin. And then last week I went to cut the ribbon on the new mini big house over in Atatsu, which is I didn't know what to expect. It was very moving because they had a lot of elders, and they allowed me in the room where they were opening up artifacts that had been in the BC Museum, and so they were opening for the first time stuff that hadn't been on their traditional territories. For some of it was, you know, pre-1900. So it was just really neat to see that, and they built themselves a bit of a new, beautiful mini big house and their cultural room, which is going to protect all these kind of artifacts as they start to bring more of this as their New Chantlith Treaty becomes more real. And so it was very moving to see, you know, I always know the strong connection that they have here, but it really puts it in context when you see artifacts coming out of boxes and for whatever reason they're not here, but they're coming back home, and it was nice to participate and be welcomed in their community for that.
Little question on that. Yeah. I'm just wondering, is the little big house or wherever they're keeping the artifacts, they've got somewhere that's where they can be preserved, like with the right humidity and the right light and all the things.
And there's actually going to be encased. So just for that, it was the opening, and you know,
cool.
Nobody tripping around them, but definitely they're making beautiful cases to protect them, and so it's and then in the mini big house, to hear the smell of the cedar and the heat and the drummers and stuff, it just kind of echoes through you, which was. Everybody was, it was, like I said, it was really nice to be able to spend some time over there and break some bread with them.
And those are all from because they're changing out the the displays at the museum in Victoria. That's all from there.
Yeah, but also part of their their agreement and their treaty settlement of getting some of that artwork to come back home and not being left in Victoria.
Yeah, there's a lot of repatriation going on from museums, so both the Royal BC Museum and others.
Yeah, it's if you get the opportunity in the new year or in the next couple of months to go for a visit over there to see the quality of what they've got there and just how the quality in a lot of their cedar wolves and how they've been weeding everything, you can just tell there's some skilled individuals that were doing that.
Just an idea, we should do a C2C meeting over there in the new year, community to community.
Should get on that for sure.
And there's grant money for that as well.
Yeah, we just do it anyways, just because we need to do it. So it's like I said, I really value our relationship with that side, and they're always warm and welcoming. So I'll talk to President McCarthy about making something happen. Any other business? Question period. Now, any members of the audience? A couple of our residents that are left behind. You guys are good. And any questions via Zoom?
There are no questions on Zoom.
Okay. Well, if they're there, I thank you for participating and listening to our meeting today. And is there any questions via the community input email? Somebody wants to get going. And okay, thank you for that. And now we're going into our closed session. So I move that the meeting be closed to the public in order to address agenda items under section 91C of the Community Charter to consider matters related to labor relations and other employee relations.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.